Hey everybody, it's the Keto Baron back with you with another video. I want to thank everybody for following along. If you haven't yet, please hit the like button, subscribe, as well as a notification bell, and you'll know when I post new content. But on the more important things, first and foremost, an update on the Carnivore Challenge. Um, I started just for this month. I'm just going to do meat or a carnivore diet. So far, I'm up a couple of pounds, but my blood sugar is extremely fantastic. It's been below 90. I couldn't ask for any more. Nothing has dipped below 80. I've been between 80 and 90, so that's been great. Uh, I've been working out more, so I anticipate uh, my weight may be in this flattish area for a little bit, and then hopefully by the end of the month we'll start dropping down. But we'll see what happens. We'll see what comes of it. What I really wanted to get to, the important thing was the conversation I had to have with myself in order to start this journey, in order to start this process, in order to lose 70 pounds, in order to drop my A1C from 12.9 to 5.7. This conversation I had to have with myself, I had to be honest and I had to be straight up with myself. And I had to accept that I had an addiction. I had an addiction to carbohydrates, I had an addiction to sugar. Uh, all the stuff that the experts tell you, for me, it was absolutely true about how it feeds that reward principle in your mind. Uh, it feeds your dopamine, all that stuff, however you want to call it. I am not a doctor by any stretch of the imagination, but when they talk about those things, I understand what they say because I really see if I was having a bad day, I would use food to drown my sorrows. If I was having a good day, I would celebrate with food. Um, that created the situation that led me into the hospital. That led me with a cellulitis infection that had staph in my leg. Those 5 days trying to get that taken care of. And while I was in the hospital, I had to have an honest conversation with myself, and I had to accept that I was an addict. I was addicted to sugars and carbohydrates. There was no way around that. And it feels good to say. Like maybe this video is just cathartic for me, but I had to accept that I was addicted to carbohydrates and to sugar. That this was a problem, and this was something I had to fix. But the conversation that I really had was when I got honest with myself, and I would suggest you doing the same. That if you're lost, if you're having problems with your weight loss, if you're having problems with your blood sugar, ask yourself a simple question over and over again and get a better understanding of why and what you're about to do. And that might help you get the strength and the ability to overcome some of the obstacles that you face in your journey. And for me, that question was simply, why is being healthy important to me? Now, for everybody, there's different reasons why. We seem it's self-evident. Like if I say, do you want to be healthy? You're like, yeah, obviously. But why? Why do I specifically want to be healthy? And I went through this exercise, and I'll show it here to everybody, and I'll kind of post it next to my head so you guys can kind of see. But I asked myself this question a bunch of times. And down here at the bottom was the first and most basic answer. Why do I want to be healthy? And that was to heal myself from the injury. Pure and simple, I didn't like being in a hospital. I didn't like being under all that rigmarole that one goes through when they're in the hospital. I didn't like it one bit. I didn't like feeling ashamed when I talked to the hospital staff about my health, about my blood sugar. I spoke in another video about the way the diet worked, and then they're telling me I have to get my readings down, and they're feeding me more carbs and sugar. So I wanted to be healthy for that reason. Like I just wanted to get away, right? But is that good enough? Is that a good enough reason to change your life? For some it is. For some, that's enough, but I needed more. So what's important about healing from the injuries to me, right? That was the question I had to ask myself. And the question and the reason and what I wrote down was because I wanted to do normal things again. Uh, I was in bad shape, health-wise. I did not go up and down steps a lot. I looked for every excuse. It was tough to bring groceries into the house for me. My legs always hurt. Years ago, I broke my ankle, and I never really healed right from that. And that meant I couldn't do things. That meant people had to do things for me. You know, people had to would run up and down the steps for me and stuff like that. I just wanted to be normal again. But you know, a lot of people like to be taken care of. I have a wonderful, loving family that would do anything for me. Why didn't I just ride that out, right? Like, what's important about doing things for myself? It's me, right? And that was the important thing to me was I don't want to feel helpless anymore. I don't want to feel when I looked in the mirror that I saw me trapped in another body. Uh, I don't know if anybody else has ever felt like that, but when you look in the mirror and you see your body and you see something that looks like you but is buried under something else, it's a terrible feeling. And I felt helpless. I felt like I had nowhere to turn. And maybe in front of people I put on a good show. Maybe I didn't. But I felt trapped and I felt helpless. And I felt there was no way to get out of this cycle. Um, so that was a step in the motivation for me. But I had to ask myself even deeper, what's important about not feeling helpless to me? Why does that matter to me? And to me, it was so I could feel human again, so I could feel the way I was. Because I didn't feel the way I felt before. And we all get older, and I understand all of that. And part of me thought before this that, hey, this is part of getting older. Like, it's just not going to work the way it used to. Uh, but I don't want to feel that way anymore. I needed to feel human again. And I could see that food was, that this addiction was definitely a problem. So I had to break that. But even more, what's important about feeling human to me, right? Like, why is feeling human matter to me? Like, what happens if I feel human? And I thought about it. And when I feel human, I feel like I have control over myself. I feel like I have control over my life. And as I'm there in that hospital bed, I said to myself, I have to feel that no matter what happens, I did everything in my power to make myself better. If I could have that control, you're going to get sick. Things are going to happen. We could get in the car when we go home and get an accident that I have nothing to do with, right? All that, put all that to the side. If I can control what I do, I will feel better. I will feel content. And that was important for me. And then I thought, well, what are we getting at? What am I getting at when I say I want to feel that way? Like, why is that important to me? Like, nobody knows, right? Like, nobody knows how I feel. But as I thought about it, somebody does. And that's my son. And feeling like I have control over my life and I have discipline in my life and I can overcome this was important to me because I needed to show him that I could do it. I needed to be a good role model for my son and show him that I was strong enough to overcome the problems that I really set out for myself, right? And my son is a bright, strong young man. He loves to work out. You would think on face he has nothing to worry about. I didn't want him to resent me for the way I had become. Um, I wanted my journey to be a source of strength for him, not a source of resentment or not an excuse to fall down that path later in his life. He's only 19 years old. He's going to have tougher days ahead. If he does not respond to those and he uses the way I became as an excuse, I failed as a parent. So the model I set out for him and the example I set out for him um, was important to me. I was told when I was young, do what I say, not what I do. And that's terrible. All of us as kids do what our parents do. And I didn't want him to see that in life, because now he's strong and he's having a good time and he's lifting weights and everything is going great for him. But tougher times are going to come. And I didn't want him to have, I wanted him to have something so that he could, if he ever needed it, be strong himself. And there's nothing more important than that to me. There's nothing more important than how I am as a father. And over the last 9 months, at one point, I did apologize to him. I told him, I said, I'm sorry. And he didn't understand why. And I said, I was a bad role model for you. I was bad. What I was doing was hurting myself. And you need to see a stronger man than that. You need to see better discipline. And I mean, maybe he'll remember it someday. I don't know if he did. Again, it was probably more for me to let him know that I am going to do better by him. I've apologized to my wife countless times that I'm going to do better by her because she has supported me no matter what. And those steps and those things, all those steps in that progression that I'll have over here, understanding that, articulating that, admitting that to myself and saying it out loud and having it on paper was important for me as a source of strength and mental strength, I guess, to move forward and to find out what's best for me. I don't want to take up any more time today. Thank you guys for listening. I guess, but before I go, actually, the one thing I would recommend is you do it. To articulate the reasons why this is important to you. Have somebody ask you these questions. Ask those questions until you get to something that the utmost importance to you, until you work yourself up to understand the true benefits or the true implications of your success. And if you can do that and it's right in front of you, then that's your plan. That's your path. You don't need a lot of specifics. Those can come later. But if you have that structure, if you can see yourself go up that staircase and why those things are important to you,